We're going to jump into back into our series this morning entitled For God So Loved. And what a reminder that we need in this day and age. I was remembering, how many remember seeing John 3:16 plastered somewhere, right? At a baseball game, maybe on the side of the road. Does anybody remember that? Sometimes you still see it, right? Does everybody know what John 3:16 is? Let's just start there. All right, it's a passage in the Bible. We're going to get there, folks. We're going to get there, right? For God so loved the world that he sent his only son, right? That if you'll believe in him, right, you'll have everlasting life, right? It's a great passage. It's actually the whole reason why Jesus came. And so the series we've entitled For God So Loved, For God So Loved. And we believe strongly that God so loved Ashland City, God so loved Cheatham County, God so loved Tennessee. God so loved this world. And so we've been focusing on what did Jesus do? We're leading up to Easter time, and Easter is the focus, the whole point of why we put our faith in Jesus Christ is what not only happens on Friday, which is Jesus dies on the cross. On Good Friday, Jesus dies on the cross. If you've been around anywhere, you know Jesus dies. But how many know the thing that we celebrate and the thing that changes everything was not that Jesus was a good man that died, but that he was God's son that came back. And that's the big thing that changes everything. He didn't just come back, but what did he do? He brought us freedom when he came back. He brought us eternal life. And so you may say, well, I don't understand how all that works. Well, it's a wonderful thing is that when you and I do things that displease the Lord, right? It's called sin that's in our lives. When sin enters our lives, when we walk things out in our life that are displeasing to the Lord, it separates us from the Lord. And so something has to be paid. There's a price that has to be paid because God is holy, right? He is pure, he's spotless. And so Jesus came as the sacrificial lamb, the eternal offering. And so when we come in a relationship, we say, Jesus, we surrender our life to you. Following Jesus, you may say, well, salvation is free. When I ask Jesus into my heart, that's a free thing. It's something I verbalize. But truthfully, He's calling for your life, though, isn't he? He's not just asking for you to say a few words. He's saying, I want you to give your life to me. Over the last few weeks, we've focused on different things, and you and I know that choices and decisions that you make either lift us up or cause us to slide back into something worse. Would you agree with that? The choices you've made this week have some consequences either way. The choices you've made in your life, they either are going to lift us up or they're going to draw us back into something worse. And so on Jesus' way to the cross, he saw the resurrection ahead of him. There's also the promise. He has the promise and the plan that God came, right? He came and he gave his life, and there was a promise attached to what Jesus was doing. And so I love that in your life, there is resurrection ahead. There's hope ahead. No matter what has happened in your past, there is the hope of Jesus Christ and the hope of what he wants to do in your life. And so today we're going to focus our attention, for God so loved me. He so loved you. He so loved your neighbor. He so loved your spouse, your children, your coworker. He so loved the person that drives you crazy. For God so loved the person that you work with that you just want to punch a wall, right? For God so loved him. For God so loved the wickedness that even occurs in our lives and in our communities and in our world. He loves them. Last week we said the choice to be grateful influences us, right? Gratitude influences us. It's a choice that we make. It influences us spiritually and emotionally. It affects our health mentally, physically, and emotionally. And today we're going to talk about the choice to love. The choice to love. Do you know it's actually hard to love? Did you know that? It's really easy to love those that like when I look at my daughter, she's 1, it's easy to love her, right? She just goes, Dada, and then she gives you a hug and she's like, you just want to squeeze her to death, you know what I mean? She's just chunky, and it's easy to love that, right? You may have like your favorite pet and you walk in the door and they're excited to see you, right? It's easy to love that. How about the person that annoys you to death? How about the person that gets under your skin? How about the individual that you think, Lord, I don't want to kill them, but I really do, right? Like, Lord, just take them away from me, right? Let the ground open up and swallow them, right? God so loved them as well. There's a choice to be made, and when we look at the very message of what Jesus did in John 3:16, it is, for God so loved the world that he gave the most precious thing that he had, his son. That whoever believes in Jesus, his son, whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn it, but to save the world through himself. God sent his son on a mission to save us. And I don't know, many times maybe you've thought, I don't know what to do in this situation. Have you ever been in a situation you thought, I don't know what to do in this situation? You ever have like a tense moment and you're thinking, I just don't know what to do? I know what I want to do, but I don't know what to do, you know? Those very moments, those situations, in those moments, those are the choices that we make that either will lift us up, that will make those difficult choices, or they're actually going to draw us back into some things that are worse, that are some further dysfunction. And I want to give you this main focus today. And the main idea that we have is that the choice to love always provides a practical way forward in any relationship. The choice to love always provides a practical way forward in any relationship. I don't know about you, but you may not think in terms of the word relationship, but you have relationships, right? Acquaintances, people in your life, family, friends. There's individuals in your life, and in those relationships that you have, right, you have to make choices. And sometimes those choices are difficult. It's easy to love, though, the sweet, innocent. It's hard to love many times the one that you have some history with, the ones that drive you nuts, the ones that just, drive you crazy. And these relationships, love, what do we say? Love provides a practical way forward in any relationship, especially the complicated ones. Can we just be a little real this morning? You've got some complicated situations in your life. Some of you say, I'll ask you about your family, and you'll just say, it's kind of complicated, right? Anybody got one of those situations? Like, it's kind of complicated. Like, I'd have to draw you a map. Well, tell me your family tree. I talked to someone, I said, well, how does your family tree work? They said, it's kind of like a forest. It's complicated, right? It's just, we'd be drawing all kinds of things. The complicated situations in your life and relationships in your life are the ones that love brings and trumps many of the problems that you face. But I want to give you some practical things as you walk some of that out. Now, the solution may be simple. And let me just help you a little bit. Love is not what happens on Valentine's Day. Do you know what's one of the fruit of the Spirit? First one, right? Love, right? The fruit of the Spirit, the evidence that something you can't do in your own strength and ability. Why would one of the fruit of the Spirits be love? Because love is not a feeling, it's a choice, isn't it? Some of you say, yeah, I've had to make some hard choices to love some people in my life, right? Listen, what does John 3:16 say? For God so loved every single person in the world. When we look at that, when we hear that, when we read that, that means that there is something in us that if we have surrendered, as we have laid down our lives, as we say, Lord, would you come into my life? Would you be my closest friend? Would you wash me clean? Would you make me new? Lord, I want to live for you every single day of my life. That love is not just something that we get to choose to do. It's something we're directed to do if we're following after Jesus and doing what he did. Love can be challenging at times, can't it? It can be difficult. And some of the most radical teaching that Jesus ever gave is that very thing, to love. To love. The world needs this teaching today in our world, don't we? I mean, we turn on the news and we just think, how in the world can you do that? How can you do that? How can you take innocence? How can you destroy a life? How can someone do that to an individual? And you go through all the situations of the things that are happening, and what we see is the absence of true love. Love as in the very love that Jesus Christ came and gave his life for. The choice that we need to make daily. And I just want to tell you that this may seem like a simple thing to do. You may say, oh, man, we got a message on love today. I am good to go. Man, this is going to be an easy one. Can I just tell you, this is probably one of the most challenging things that you're going to face in your life. And I want you to turn with me to Luke chapter 6, verse 27. And we're going to look at what Jesus, how he walks some of this out, how he shares this with us, how he opens up our eyes as he challenges us with some of the most revolutionary things that can happen in our world. Let me just say, in our world, if you love in difficult situations, that itself says a lot about you. Because the world kind of has a system, right? If you're wronged, then you wrong that person, right? An eye for an eye, right? But love and the message that Jesus brought was so counter what this world does even today and what the world did then. And this is this focus that we're going to read as we read Jesus' methods of finding your way forward in any relationship. We're going to look at this, and it says in in Luke chapter 6, verse 27, but it says, but to you who are willing to listen. I want to ask you, who's willing to listen to Jesus? If you're willing to listen, don't just listen, but then put into practice what he says. For those that are willing to listen, I say, love your enemies. Oh man, that's good. I don't have any enemies, right? You know, your family member, you probably don't classify as your enemy. Your coworker, your neighbor, someone in your life, someone you don't think of them maybe as your neighbor. Can I just say, if you're in disagreement with them, they're probably an enemy of sorts. Jesus says, love your neighbor. Do good to those who hate you. You may or may not know someone that hates you. Bless those who curse you. Now, let's just be honest. If someone curses you, if someone does something in your life, love is not normally the response, right? And let me just help you a little bit further. I'm not talking about you on your best day. I'm talking about you on your worst day. Because on your best day, you wake up, the sun is shining. You don't even need that cup of coffee that you need every other morning, right? You're good to go, right? I mean, the birds are chirping, right? And you're just like, Jesus, I love you so much. You know, and you're dealing with someone difficult and you're just like, Lord, just bless them, right? I'm talking on the day that you wake up late, you're frustrated already getting out of bed. The kids have drove you nuts all weekend. It's Monday morning. There is no coffee because somehow you forgot to get it. And now it's that kind of morning. And you run into someone and they do something, they bump you, they irritate you, they do something, or you have this already ongoing tension. It's in those moments that we need to look at what Jesus says. To love your enemies. To do good to those that hate you. To bless those that curse you. Pray for those who hurt you. That's difficult. If someone slaps you on the cheek, offer the other cheek. If someone demands your coat, offer your shirt also. Give to anyone who asks, and when things are taken away from you, don't try to get them back. We're going to walk through this just a little bit. Do to others as you would have them do to you, the golden rule. If you love only those who love you, listen to this. Why should you get credit for that? Even the sinners, even those that don't have relationship with the Lord, even those that haven't been transformed by the love of Jesus Christ. Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good only to those that do good to you, why should you get credit for that? Even sinners do that much. And if you lend money only to those who will repay you, why should you get credit? Even sinners will lend to other sinners that are going to get paid back, right? And then it says in verse 35, love your enemy, do good to them, lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great, and you will truly be acting as the child of the Most High, for he is kind to those who are unthankful or ungrateful and wicked. This was Jesus' teaching. This would have been strong when he gave it, and it's strong today. And we're going to look just a little bit more, and we're going to ask the Lord, Lord, am I loving the way you would love? If I'm going to be a follower of Jesus Christ, then in every aspect of my life, I want to mirror who he is. Every aspect of my life, I don't want there to be like the Christian version of me, the Sunday morning version of me, and then the Monday through Friday version of me. I don't want there to be, hey kids, I love Jesus in these moments, but when I get frustrated, the love of Jesus isn't there. I want to live and act and walk out the love that Jesus has shown me. I want to show that to this world, because the world doesn't need what it already has, right? It doesn't need more eye for eye. It doesn't need, well, you've wronged me, now I'm going to wrong you. Well, you hate me, so I'm going to hate you. You've destroyed me, so now I'm going to retaliate and destroy you. You know, there's great movies, right? There was a show for a long time called Revenge, right? There's movies that we watch, and we watch injustice, and we watch things horrifically happen, and then we watch that one guy that solely walks into whatever room, and he's got his, whatever. He has some way to bring justice, and he beats up all the bad guys. He kills all the bad guys, and we're just, yes. Because we want to see justice done. Jesus says, love your enemies. That doesn't feel like a whole lot of... I don't know that would make a great movie. Because in our minds, we actually long for justice to happen the way we want justice to occur. Can I ask you, what do you deserve in your life? What are we deserving from Jesus? What he has done for us, the sacrifice that he made, none of us deserve, do we? But he says, listen, I'm calling you to live differently. I'm calling you to not only live differently, but to act differently. And I want to give you just a few key things that we see here. In the first is some of the things that we learn from the teachings of Jesus. The first one is that we have to, love is a choice. Love is a choice. Maybe it seems very elementary to you. Maybe you think, oh, that's fine. Can I just say, you may not realize it, but a lot of times our emotions come into play when we think about love. When I see my children, I was busy yesterday. We were doing the Habitat thing, and so I met my wife at God's favorite place to go. Well, second favorite. I know Chick-fil-A's up there. Golly G's is right up there too, right? Ice cream, right? It's probably going to be in heaven. So I went and I met my family there, and I walked in and my kids were all there. And there's nothing like walking into a room and hearing your kids go, Daddy, right? And you're like, hey. I mean, it's the most exhilarating thing in the world. You feel like $1 million, right? And it is the thing you live for. It's wonderful. But there's some emotion that occurs in me when I see my kids, right? There's some it's not even so much a choice. Sometimes I have to choose to love my children. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus, help me. The will of this child is too much, But many times there's some emotion. Can I just say, love is not just an emotion. Love is actually a choice that you have to make, a difficult choice. And how you make that choice is absolutely key. So love is not just a feeling, although it produces feeling, it's actually a decision that we make. And there's this Greek word, the agape love, which is unconditional love. Things that sometimes we've never even seen walked out in our lives. And it's not based on how you're treated. It's not based on how you feel. It's not somehow conditional. There's nothing that you do. It's not just the feeling. It's a commitment, a choice based on love that does not waver. That is the love of Jesus Christ, and he's actually calling us. Paul says, you got to die to yourself. Die to yourself. Well, this love message is getting kind of hard now. Can I say, I almost guarantee someone in your life that, I say, are there people in your life that you don't love? Are there people in your life, maybe in your family, maybe in your workplace, maybe just in your life? It's probably someone you don't get along with, someone that rubs you the wrong way. I've had situations like that, and I just, Lord, I don't want to love them. I don't want to choose to love them. They irritate me. They bother me. Can I say that many times your attitude towards those that hurt you, that hate you, that you don't get along with, your attitude is many times the thing that begins to change something in them. Because they know what the response of the world is. I know I'm giving this person a hard time. I know I'm riding this person at work. I know I irritate this person. And I know what the world expects. That person's going to give it right back. When you start living differently and acting differently, something changes in them. And it doesn't happen immediately. Sometimes it never happens. But they see something and they say, there's something different about you because you're supposed to respond a certain way. And you're not responding that way. I remember working with some guys, and I remember this one particular job I had, and I literally felt like this one person was like out to make my life miserable. And I'd be like, God, like every day was a chore. Every day was a battle. And I'd show up and I'd be like, God, this is hard. It's hard to go to work. It's hard to, but I got this person in my life and it feels like, man, they're just after to make my life miserable. I remember that daily the Lord would say, your response is key in this relationship. Your response. Let me tell you, you have to die daily when it's a situation like that, or maybe a family member that's in your life and you say, God, Lord, this person, it takes everything inside of me to love them. But Luke 6:27, it says, but to you who are willing to listen, I say to you, do this very thing. Make the choice to love. The world we live in is looking for something different. It's looking for something different. It knows what it has. But when you begin to live out the revolutionary ideas that Jesus had, you walk those out and you say, Lord, I choose to love in this situation. Let me tell you, things begin to shift and change. And if I'm honest, do you know a lot of times the things that you and I walk through, that person that's in your life that drives you crazy, can I tell you, it's like when you slam the door and you catch your finger and you think, God, why did that just happen? And you want to say everything under the sun. I think many times that situations in our life draw to the surface what's already there and things that we need to address in our own personal lives. And the Lord would say, there's still some of you in there that needs to be removed. There's still some things in your life that you need to walk through. You need to lay down. There's still some things that are a lot of flesh in you that I still need to work out of you. So Jesus, he begins to say, let's just put up the face and just understand, catch someone, maybe bring someone's face to your mind and begin to dwell on someone. And he is saying that individual is who I came for. That individual is the one I came to love and cherish. That individual that's hurt and broken, that is the individual that I'm asking you to choose to love. And it's difficult many times. It's easier to choose to hate. It's easier to choose to lash out. It's easier to choose to do many other things, but this one simple thing. And I pray that the Lord leads you in these moments. Can I just say, there are some divine appointments in your life that God wants to use you in your choice to love. There are some divine appointments that God wants to use your life to make an impact in their life. You and I have probably met people that just like their whole persona is just kind of prickly. Their whole persona is like, they already know that they're kind of this way, and they're already looking for a certain response. And I promise you that love has a way of changing their response based on your response. So what does Jesus say? Do good to those that hate you. Bless those who hurt you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who hurt you and mistreat you. The choice is on us to make. And I'm not going to, you have to choose to not let your feelings dictate your life. Can I just tell you, your emotions will mislead you every single step of the way. But if we will listen with our ears and our spirit, the Lord will direct us on how to minister to those. I'm so thankful that the Lord didn't just come for nice people. I'm so thankful that the Lord didn't come for those that, never did anything wrong in their life. He came for the worst of the worst. And he wants to use you and I to minister and bring the whole message of what he came to do. For God, he loved unconditionally you and I, that he gave his only son. Love is a decision. But let me just say, it's not always an easy one. It's not an easy one. In fact, it's very challenging at times. Most of the time, it's not easy. But this is what lasting relationships in any sphere is based on. Lasting relationships are based on this very thing. I want to give you this next one, and that is that love forgives. Oh, I can choose to love. Forgiving is another story, right? There's some people that you may not want to forgive ever. Like you're content going to your grave, never forgiving that person. You were content saying, listen, if I never forgive that person, I'm okay. I sleep better not forgiving them, I'm just fine. But what did Jesus do? Let's just make it personal. What did he do in your life? He forgave you, didn't he? I think you and I could probably look back in our lives and say, man, there's some things that I'm not proud of. There's some things that I'm embarrassed of. There's some things I hope no one ever knows. And Jesus, you forgave me for that. You washed me. You came in. And we're good with Jesus forgiving us, but we're not good with forgiving others. We're good with Jesus coming and taking away, loving us and forgiving us, washing us white as snow, and we're good with that. We're just not okay doing it ourselves. Because the choice to forgive, the choice to love is a difficult choice. And it's hard. Can I just say, when you choose to forgive, you're not okaying what has been done? Because there are some horrific things that you say, man, if I forgive them, I have okayed what they've done. That's not what forgiveness is. But forgiveness releases you. Forgiveness releases you of the heaviness. Forgiveness is, there's something that needs to be released in the process. And in Luke 6, verse 29, it says, I'll make a disclaimer here in just a minute. It says, if someone slaps you on the cheek, offer them the other cheek, right? Can I just say, this isn't an abusive relationship we're talking about. If you're in an abusive relationship, this does not apply. In fact, if you are, come talk to us, right? Let us help you find hope and freedom, right? But it's the mentality. It's the mentality. If you want to look at this particular passage, right? Think of it as like this. You ever seen two kids in the backyard and they're just fighting, they're bickering, right? But when you understand that when someone does something to you abrasive, when they do something and you think, well, if someone's like some of us are like, if somebody slapped me in the face, I'm going to beat them down, right? I mean, I'm just going to take them down. Like the face is like, I teach our kids, do not hit each other in the face, okay? So they just hit each other everywhere else, And you're just like refereeing life here. But there is a concept here. It's a heart attitude, isn't it? What is the Lord after? He's always after the heart. He's after the intent of the heart. He's after where you're at in the process. It says if somebody wants your coat, right? Don't just, if somebody wants your coat, don't just take your coat off, right? But then offer them your shirt. Now don't worry, I took my coat off. Because it's getting hot in here. I'm not gonna take my shirt off. So you can't have it. But the concept is, think about the concept of this. If someone comes to you and they say, I want your coat, this is what I long for. The heart attitude is like, let me ask you what you really need. What's really going on in your life? Why do you need a coat? What's transpiring in your life? I not only want to give you a coat, but what else is there need in your life? What is causing you to act and respond this way? Sometimes we come front and center with just the fact that these people irritate me and they bother me and I can't love them and I hate them, and we have these feelings, but we're not willing to go a level deeper, which is what's going on in your life. Can I just say, today in this world, responses that we've seen are just the tip of the iceberg. We see people lash out, we see people do things. And if someone will take the time to go a little bit deeper, what's going on in your life? What's transpiring in your world? Sometimes there's more that's going on and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. We don't know what's going on in their home life. We don't know what they've walked through. We don't know what difficult situations they're journeying through. But can I say the Lord can use you if you allow him to meet a need, to minister, and maybe to minister to someone that has never received love. I was blessed growing up. I had two wonderful parents that loved me unconditionally. And I have learned in life that's not the case for many. Not everyone gets a loving parent. Not everyone has an environment that's loved and protected. Hurt occurs. When we choose, make a choice to love and forgive, we're acting the way Jesus would act. But I love that what Jesus did is he wasn't intimidated by whatever the initial face was, the initial drama was, the initial thing that they presented. He always wanted to go a level deeper. What's going on in your life? So these are hard choices to make. And this third one I give you here is that love also establishes boundaries. Thank goodness, right? Love establishes some boundaries. Because you think, man, I can forgive, I can choose to love, but we gotta have some boundaries. Can I just say, when you set boundaries up in the relationships that you have, that's actually you choosing to love them and love yourself. Because some of the relationships we're in need boundaries. In fact, every healthy relationship needs boundaries. And somewhere hurt has occurred, boundaries need to be set. Listen, I'm not just a punching bag, right? I know it says turn the other cheek, but I'm not there for you to pummel. Right? I'm not there for you to be your personal punching bag. Boundaries need to occur. Love not only chooses to forgive and is a choice, but it also establishes these boundaries. You and I know that trust is earned, right? Trust is earned. So when love has been, when things have happened in our life, and we have to create a boundary. You know what's hard about creating boundaries is we've got to have some moments with some difficult moments many times of sitting down with somebody and saying, hey, listen, I love you, but what has occurred has broken trust. And I love you, but maybe a lot of times I don't like who you are. Many times you have done things that have been destructive. And I care about you, but I've got to set a boundary in place. I also care about myself. I've got to set a boundary in place. And we've got to work back towards trust. We've got to work back to a place where I can trust you again. Let me tell you, that is as important and as foundational. Let me tell you, it's crucial in our lives. Because there are some unhealthy things that occur and some people that are in your life. Let me tell you, forgiveness is about the past. Trust is about the future. Forgiveness is about the past. You have to choose, like, I'm choosing to forgive. I'm choosing to love. But trust is about the future. Where are we going to go in this relationship? Because you can love them, but you don't have to always like them, right? But trust and love actually establishes boundaries. It establishes boundaries. In Luke chapter 6, verse 31, it says, do to others as you would have them do to you. If we caught this and practiced this in our culture, if we lived out the way we wanted to be treated, because look, here's the truth is we all want to be treated well. We all want to be treated with dignity. We all want to be treated with care. We all want to be treated with value. If you and I, as we're going through our lives, do that to others, it begins to transform our world that we live in. Now you say the world's really big. Yes, but you have a world. You live somewhere, you go somewhere, you probably go within a certain radius. That's your Jerusalem, that's your world in many ways. You may say, how can I affect the world? You can affect your neighbor, you can affect your family, you can affect your coworkers, you can affect those that you regularly interact with. So we have to decide, Lord, that we want to begin to treat people. And let me just say, I understand, just because you treat someone really nice, and you're sweet and compassionate and loving, that is not a guarantee that that's how they respond to you. In fact, those difficult relationships, those difficult people typically don't respond back that way. And I'm not saying you become a doormat, but I would say let the Lord lead you in loving those around you, giving you opportunities and inroads. Let me give you this third one. Love empathizes and it serves. You know, why is this important? Why is this whole thing important? Because if you and I don't live differently, if you and I don't live out the love that has been extended to us, then we really aren't really different than anyone else. We're not really different than any other religion or any other. If the love of Jesus Christ can't shine through us, how will people know the love of Jesus? If we, the disciples and followers of Jesus, can't demonstrate it, then who are we following? Do we just have a form of godliness but not really transformed? Can I just say, this is some difficult things to do. Love not only makes choices, but love empathizes, it listens, it serves, it looks for open doors. What did Jesus do? He said, I of all should be served, and yet I have come to serve you, right? I have come to demonstrate what others should be doing to me. I'm the one that's worthy to be served, and yet I've come to serve you. Let me challenge you with this. It is crucial that we slow down. We stop talking so much, and we take time to empathize with people that we're having a problem with. And I realize, not every moment is a, Hallmark story. But I promise you, the ones that rub you wrong, if you'll swallow your pride, because if I'm just honest, the person that just rode me every single day at work, bothered me, man, the last thing I wanted to do is go to them and say, hey, you doing okay? Like that, the relationship wasn't there, right? But can I just say, if you start making some choices and say, hey man, you doing okay today? Or hey, however the conversation starts, but you start making some inroads to empathize. And you look for moments and opportunities when they share difficult seasons of their life. It's actually a glimpse into their life where you say, you can begin to pray with them. You can begin to catch a heart for them. Can I say the world will change when we not only accept the love of Jesus, but then we live out the love of Jesus. That's the hardest thing to do. Slow down and take enough time. And the truth is, take a moment to care about someone around you that isn't already in your circle. Because you see, you and I have a circle of love, right? We've got our family, we've got our few friends, we've got a few church family. This is our circle, us four and no more. Can I just say, it's time for us to expand the circle in our lives. It's time for us to begin to love others outside the circle. It's time for us to be used by God and have empathy and compassion. It's time for us to lay down our pride. It's time for us to lay down, if that person does that to me. Listen, I've talked to some of you, and your responses when a situation doesn't go the way you wanted to is you buck up, you bow up, man, you become, everyone's macho, I'm gonna sue them, I'm gonna take them out. Let me just say, that is not what Jesus demonstrated. I am saying there are boundaries to this, but let me just say, most of the time we miss it. And we're not asking questions. We're not talking. We're just immediately moving on. It's important that we slow down. Because let me just flip that for just a minute. Have you ever gone through something that was so hard? Have you ever had a hard season? I think all of us have had a hard season over the last few years. The stress, the pressure, and anxiety of life. Have you ever responded a certain way and you knew that was probably not the right way to act? And all of a sudden you hurt somebody because of things you said or you did or how you responded. But nobody actually came and asked, what's going on in your life? Are you okay? Everyone just took that response, that action, at face value, and then in return, retaliated in their own way. Can I just say, as Christians, we also retaliate? We just do it in different ways. We talk about somebody, hello, that person did this to me. So you just do the little gossip train. What happens if we go? What does the Bible say? If you've got a problem with someone, go to them. And I realize you say, well, I'm not confrontational. Well, I'm just asking you to be biblical. I'm just asking you to love. I'm just asking you to do. Take the time and say, God, Lord, I'm going to take the time to listen and ask some questions and slow down. It's about empathizing enough with the person you're dealing with so that you can respond in a way that is serving them, that is loving them, that's caring for them. And say, well, just put yourself in someone else's shoes for a moment. Sometimes we don't know the road someone's walked or the difficulty, the season they're in. Sometimes we don't know that. And if we'll just catch a glimpse into their lives, we'll have empathy. Let me also say this. If you're going through something, let somebody in. Share with someone. Open yourself up. Stop pretending like you got it all together. Stop pretending like, man, I don't need any help. Every single one of us needs help. Every single one of us needs people in our lives. We weren't intended to do this alone. We were intended to do it together. Can I just say these are foundational and practical things that you and I have to make choices on each and every day. I want to give you this last one, and that is that love acts in faith. Love acts in faith. We've talked about 4 different areas that are hard. Forgive, to choose love, draw boundaries. Sometimes that's confrontational. To empathize, to serve. And then love acts in faith. This is how Jesus closes this wonderful area that we're just reading, this passage here. And he says, if you love only those that love you, if you love only those that love you, you're not going to get any credit for that. That's like you going, hey, Jesus, I'm going to fast vegetables that I hate. Right? I'm just not going to eat them for a whole month because I love you so much. Anybody hate vegetables? Right. No, everybody loves vegetables. Let me tell you, there's something in your life you don't like. And it's the equivalent of you saying, oh, I'm willing to take one for the team, Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, that awful thing I'm not willing to eat or do. Let me just say, you don't get credit for that. You don't get credit for loving those that love you. That's not how it works. But you do get credit for loving those that don't love you. Because it says even those that aren't transformed by the relationship of Jesus Christ. Sinners, those that are away from the Lord, those that have no reference point, they love those that love them. That's a natural response. And it says, if you're doing good only to those that are doing good to you, why should you get credit for that? Can I tell you, though, that God is keeping score of something? He is keeping score of something. He's keeping score of the moments that you choose to love that are difficult. He's keeping score of the moments that you choose to forgive that are difficult. He's keeping score of those. Listen, you're going to arrive in heaven one day. If you have given your life and lived your life for Jesus, you're going to arrive in heaven one day. There's going to be a moment that God's going to say, hey, guess what? There's a reward for what you lived your life out on earth. There's a reward. Hey, remember that coworker that just drove you nuts and you showed up every day with the right attitude? You denied the things that drove you crazy. You didn't respond the way you wanted to respond. There's a reward for how you live that out because that made an impact. Can I just say, I'm so thankful that there isn't just a reward in heaven, but there are some rewards here on earth. I want to ask our team to come as we close out this time. There's some rewards here on earth. Do you know what the rewards are? What could a reward be for me living out the love of Jesus Christ? Let me tell you the reward. I know people are moving around. I probably should have just waited. Let them all. Here's a reward, is that when you live out what Jesus did and the way he lived, and you choose to love, and you choose to care, and you choose to empathize, you're going to meet people in your life. They're going to say, I've never met anyone that actually lived these things out. I've always heard it preached. Can I just say, this is an easy thing to preach. This is an easy thing for you and I to agree, oh yeah, we should love, and we should choose to love, and we should choose to care. It's a whole lot harder to walk it out, isn't it? But when you start to walk it out, when you start to walk these things out in your life, people take notice and say, there is something really different about you. I've probably told the story of this kid that when I was working on a golf course, I probably told this story to you already like a ton of times, but I saw that walked out when this young man who was that thorn in my flesh at work, I just finished college and I was working on a golf course, and he was just the one that literally made my job hard. And I just remember as I lived out, and let me just tell you, daily, I remember being on these, I have to pull these golf carts out as people would come in, and I just remember early in the morning, like 5:30 in the morning, and I just remember like weeping, like, God, there's got to be more to life than this. Like, this is not the plan, right? Tell me there's more. It was a hard season of life. But I remember, I'll never forget the day the kid, he threw a big party, got arrested, came back to work 2 days later, and he came to me and he said, I was the only one out of all my coworkers that had a relationship with Jesus. And he came back to me and he said, I need your help, because I have realized that the way I'm living my life is not the way I need to live my life. And he said, I found this old dusty Bible on my mom's shelf and I started to read it. I got to get my life together. Can I say, when you walk out, let me also say that doesn't happen every time. But when you walk out the love of Jesus Christ, when you make choices to care and to love those around you, it is the very thing that Jesus gave his life for. What did he say? For God so loved the world. Man, people need to meet Jesus people. People that are not just saying, oh, I love Jesus, but people that are living it out. Most of the world right now is tired of you preaching at them. They want to see you live it. Don't tell me how to live, you live it. Let me see it in your life. And so, Father, I just pray, Lord, over our congregation. Lord, this week is a pivotal week. Lord, I pray for an open door into people's lives this week. I pray, Lord, for those that are in our lives, that we're in relationship, that don't know you yet. Lord, that there will be a shifting this week. I pray that next Sunday, Lord, that they be open, maybe coming with us. Or they be open to a conversation. Or they be open to us praying with them. Or they would be open to us ministering to them. God, I pray, Lord, that our hearts would shift and that we wouldn't just love those that love us and care for those that care for us. But God, that we would go a level deeper, expanding our circle and saying, God, I'm willing to love more because you love me first. Lord, I pray for some divine appointments. I pray for some of those difficult situations and relationships that we know of. I pray, Lord, for when the moment comes this week, Lord, that we would seek out the moment, Lord, that we would step into the moment, that we would live out that moment the way you would live it out. Give us the words to say. Lord, I thank you, Lord, that this is your heart, to love those that never loved us first. That's exactly what you did. Lord, we thank you, Lord, today. And we ask this in your precious name. Lead and guide us this week. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Service. We love and appreciate you. Stand up, say hello to someone, give them a fist bump, a high five, and we love and appreciate you. God bless.